Stop. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. I know I've been wanting to chat with you and see how things were going with because last we talked, you were starting with your new coach and like going through all the emotional stuff and
Yeah, no, it's going good. Yeah, we started working on my offer, so creating that and getting that out. So yeah, it's going well.
good. Yeah. Are you still like in the back of your mind thinking about starting a podcast one day? Or are you still like, what's the goal for the offers and stuff right now?
Right now I just want to get it out there. I've been sitting on this thing for a long time. I mean, I put it out there with your podcast in a business sense, but I just need to get it out there.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And then I have to get working on that little book that I'm working on. And I have to, now that I'm getting that clarity more over here, I think that that'll come a little bit easier too. So the podcast is still there. It's just, one thing at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I was just curious. So what kind of, like what exactly is it you're promoting? Is it that you're going to start a group coaching program or have you figured out like the details of what you're going to do with your Let Go
I haven't
framework?
figured out totally what the framework's going to look like, but it's going to be, I think it'll be kind of a mix. Maybe started out as a group thing and then it'll morph into the one-on-one stuff as well. So yeah. So I think this is kind of like a little bit of a master class on how to get going and then how to morph that together with the spur on change that I want to put into the book. And yeah, the group piece, I think it'll be like partially group, partially on their own and partially one-on-one. That's probably what being. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reason I was asking is because like I know a bunch of other people that, have podcasts and stuff. And so when you're ready to like promote, I guess I can definitely reach out and see based on like who they talk to, based on their avatar, but like see if I can get you some other people that might be, needing an interview for their podcast.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that. Yeah, that's great.
Are you still talking to business women? Like, is that still the goal of how to
I think it can definitely I think yeah, people starting out doing the emotional piece, yeah, for sure, because I think that's what I'm doing right now is working through that. And I think for sure the Let Go format can actually work for any part of a person's life, right? And then I've kind of, instead of my steps that I have now, I've come up with like how to spur change. So it's small, plan, release and repeat. And so that's my core, how to break it down into smaller steps, make your plan and yeah, release and then practice, keep practicing.
Yeah.
I think you can do that with anything. I'm releasing organizing in general, because as I've mentioned it before, I think that's the easy piece. For me, it's about the believing in yourself that you can do it and finding a way that works for you specifically. And that's the same for business too. Any part in your life, like being able to shut the voices off outside, the voices that you don't want that aren't helping you, right?
Yeah. So really anybody, because I was just trying to think of, like based on who they speak to, but it really could be for anyone that speaks to pretty much women of any like at any point in their life, essentially, but anyone that's trying to help women, like learn how to just do better, be better, like let go of this stuff, that kind of thing.
This is really important in any kind of transition that women go through, for sure, right? Even young women transitioning into motherhood, and then transitioning to teenagers, transitioning to empty nest, transitioning to retirement, whatever it is, women in transition, we tend to kind of get all bogged down with everybody else's shit and trying to find your way through that. Sometimes get really complicated and we overthink it. And I think a lot of times we just make it really hard for ourselves. So I know I have. So yeah, really figuring out how can I put down some stuff. I don't need to carry it all. And how can I release it and let it go out into the world like a balloon, just float away. It's not my problem, right? And really knowing that you are allowed to have your own voice and allowed to have your own ideas and thoughts. And, you know, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so good. And that's why, like, you know, especially when once you get, like, let me know as soon as you get because, you know, two things. One is I wouldn't want to go ahead and like set you up with podcast interviews if I can, hopefully, which I think they would want to. I don't know why they wouldn't. But if you were to go on, but then you didn't have an actual like thing you were promoting or selling, you know, then it's great to get out there, but at the same time, it's not going to bring you any kind of return, you know? Right. And so once you get that piece situated where, you know what you're selling or you know what your like thing is that you're offering, let me know and then I can start reaching out.
I think that's going to happen fairly quickly because she's just got some really amazing tools that have been already helping me kind of get that clarity on what it is, who I want to attract, who I'm talking to, and what it is I'm putting out there. So tomorrow I meet with her again and we do we're going to do some brainstorming on what I've already sent her. So it's happening quickly. It's just a matter of working through the voices in my head that are coming up as soon as I get close to it, you know, and when you start to get close to doing something and then all of a sudden you're like, no, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's been a difference for me too, is being able to kind of face those. And I just made a decision to just lean into it, as yucky as it can be and as uncomfortable and painful as it can be. I'm like sick and tired of just sitting here and doing nothing, you know?
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like that's what I was going to say is the action is the killer of all of those like negative thoughts, you know, like the second you take action, well, all of a sudden it can't say you can't do it. Oh, because I already have. So
right. Yeah. As soon as you take action, it's like shame too. As soon as you speak it, it has no dark corners to hide in anymore. And absolutely the light makes it better, right? Just do it. And I know that like I have been really working on that too. I know when I get in front of people, I feel like I know what I'm talking about and it comes naturally to do it. It's the actual just planning part of it, trying to put it down on paper and trying to figure out what it's going to look like. And then I get the perfectionist is coming back out again. Perfectionism.
Yeah. Well, and can I offer you something so it was, and I think I was actually maybe even talking to you about this in the beginning, wherever I was, you know, I just put it out there as like a thought of like, hey, anybody want to come on the podcast or whatever? And I was at this place of like, I want it to look like this, you know, and that whole, like, it has to be perfect. It has to be this. And it was getting me freaking nowhere. And the second that I was like, you know what, like, as long as I'm helping people, it can look however it needs to look. And I know it's going to evolve as time goes on anyways. And so allowing that to be part of like the plan, you know, like the plan is we're just going to go as we go and we'll figure it out
there and see what happens. Yeah, I know. And then this is what my coach is doing for me. She's just like, okay, well, what would it feel like if you just put it out today? Even though I haven't looked at it, even though we haven't talked about it, what would it feel like? And I'm like, oh my freaking God, I don't know.
It would feel so much better. I promise you, because then you've already let it out. So then you're at a place where you're like, oh wait, well, that wasn't so scary. Kind of like the first time you do a live, you know, remember how like, you know, or at least I did anyways, where I was just like, I was like putting makeup on and like my hair, like every little piece had to be perfect and like, you know, like fixing it, you know, and then now I'm just like today I was just like, I'll throw a little bit of lipstick on, but who cares? Let's go, you know, like.
That's how I feel too. Is like, you know, I used to do like the whole makeup thing, cover up. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's way too much time. I don't do that in
Right.
my whole life. Why am I doing it now?
Me too. Yeah, me too. And if I know I'm going to be like doing a live recording that we're going to turn into like a workshop, I go a little above, but
Yeah.
anything else, I'm just like, whatever.
I showed up here today, the way that I am, and this is who I am. Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if I want to lean into that authenticity piece, then I have to be okay with, messy hair. And, I mean, there are some days where I'm like, ooh, you got some nice hair. I should do a live today.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, like it's so like it's and that framework is so good. Like it just is, so it's not like what you're setting on, you're in a place of like, well, is this good? Is it not? Is it going to work? Is it not? Like you already know it's fantastic. You already know it's going to work. Now it's just getting over your own, like getting out of your own way.
Yeah, and this is why I started working with my new coaches, because I knew that she could help me, because she's helped me before in other areas, not on the capacity of a coach, but just helped me get over myself, basically. And that's
Right.
basically what I'm working on. Get over yourself, for Christ's sake. Like,
yes.
Move along.
Yeah.
That's
well,
right.
And that's so funny because it's so funny how these or to me, it's not funny. It's like fascinating how sometimes like the topic from the first group comes into the second one, but the whole first group, every one of the girls there was like 4 of them there today. And each one of them were at that place where they're like, well, I want to do this and I should do this, but can I really do it? Like, I'm not really sure if I can do it, but I know I'm good at it, but I'm not really, like that whole just like, and by the end of it, they were all just like, all right, we're just going to take action. Like, forget this, crap of like back and forthness and like, let's just do it, and then one of the other girls goes, all right, so when we meet back in 2 weeks, like we're going to check in on each one of us and we're going to figure out who's done what.
And then they went,
Yep.
Exactly.
The second there was a time frame, all their eyes were like, yeah.
Yeah. I know the feeling. And it's the one thing that I really over the last couple of weeks realized, that I have like these phrases and words that are triggering to me. Like number one is discipline. As soon as someone says the word discipline, I'm out. Because discipline to me means punishment or giving up things that I love. Yeah. Because you're being punished. And then the other thing is have to and should. You should or you have to. I don't like those phrases now that I'm realizing it, is because I really feel like you get to do whatever it is that speaks to you. Mm-hmm. And releasing part of that is releasing those words. Like I don't have to be disciplined, be right the way I want to be. And I don't have to, or I shouldn't do. The only thing that I need to do is what makes me happy and, what speaks to me. And so I get to show up every day and I get to do that. So it's about, for me, I think part of this let go piece too is the language, is taking out some of that language, because it's very triggering to me, and understanding your own triggers and what kind of sets you off, and understanding why you want to slam the book shut or you want to walk away and not do it anymore. Really getting underneath that and seeing, is it something like perfectionism that's making you want to walk away, or is it something like a word like discipline that's making right. you, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. Your inner child comes out and you have a little tantrum and you go away because I don't want to be disciplined.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just not going to do it because now I'm an adult and I can walk away if I want to.
And I don't want to do it. So there.
Yeah.
That's what it's workout night. And I've been struggling with back pain. And so I was sitting there at the island while my husband did dishes after supper, and I was like, I don't want to do any of these workouts. I don't like either of them. Then just making me like, do I sound like a child? He's like, yes, you're being a child. But I don't wanna.
Yeah, But what's so good though is you knowing that like every single thing you're walking through right now is exactly what's going to help the people that,
Yeah,
you know,
it's going to help, and it's going to get me to where I need to be in that confidence, not just confident today and then tomorrow, I don't know what, but confident every day that I've got this, even when I feel like I don't. Confidence in trusting myself and believing in the ideas that I have and standing behind what's coming out of me is the right thing.
Yeah. 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 Which is hard, you know, whenever you're like, well, is it good enough? Or is it this? Or is it that? Or, you know, and like I've had to, like, I've had a few people be like, oh, well, so-and-so does this and so-and-so does that. And I'm like, well, that's great for so-and-so, but you know, that's a great idea. But A, I don't have time to do that right now. And B, like, you know, a couple of those things are great ideas. And eventually I probably will, because, you know, when you're starting a business online, there's certain steps that like, they just are, you know, it's just how things are done. But, you know, when I'm looking at these people and they're like, oh, well, I bought so-and-so's course and, you know, and I'm like, yeah. And you spent how much money and it got you how far? Like the whole reason I created this is because at first I didn't want to create a course. Like, and most people start with the course, you know, like I wanted to see what people needed before I then tried to create a course, you know, and it's been invaluable, like the, you know, just walking people through and walking with them through whatever it is that they're walking through. And that's where I know for you, like your light's going to shine the second you get some people in your group that you're walking through whatever, you know, the let go framework, and you're walking them through step by step. That's when all of the like aha moments come, and they're like, oh, well, of course, or the, you know, those type of things.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's really that, because I do know that when I'm talking to people, I know what I'm talking about. It's when I try to break it down into step by step, because it's really easy for me to talk about it. What's difficult is trying to break it apart into these different pieces. And that's where I've been struggling. And then I've done the same thing, is like, oh, I'll take this course, maybe that'll help me, and I'll do this over here, and maybe that'll help me, and I'll do this. And then pretty soon what really was going on is like all of their voices and visions and their ideas were in my head, but they weren't meshing with my own ideas. So then I lost that vision, I lost my voice, and then I was just feeling frustrated, and I was like this close to quitting. Like I was like, that's it, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. I'm really sucking at it. And so, you know, working with my coach, I was able to kind of, like she just said, okay, we're starting fresh.
Yeah.
Let's just stop what you're doing. And so, you know, I've taken a step away from doing my lives. I just kind of stepped back, because it was like, I have to start fresh with so I can hear myself and I can hear my thoughts, and my creativity can start to come back. And that's slowly starting to happen. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to just shut it down. And when we go, but we are always looking for that quick something to help me get going, because we're not trusting in ourselves.
Yeah. Or because when we're doing the work, you know, along with the creativity fun part comes the annoying like editing part and the blah, and the, you know, the stuff that like has to be done.
Right.
You know, and you know it's building your character, and you know that it's helping eventually, but in the moment it's like, do I really have to spend 5 hours on this one episode just editing? Like, really? You know? Yeah. I feel you.
And of course there's always yucky things to do. But I think that they are worse if you're struggling in the creative area too. Like if you're struggling all across the board, then everything becomes a chore, and there are no fun pieces at all. So it's just, sorry, my phone keeps going off.
No, go ahead and check it. You're good. It's just us.
Just want to make it stop doing that. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah. So I think as I'm kind of working it out and laying it out in a different fashion, she's really good at supporting without placing any of her stuff on me, which in the past, some of the coaches I worked with, they don't do it on purpose, but it's like, you just
Right.
follow what I do and then it'll work for you. But it wasn't working for me because that's not how I do my business. That's not how I process information. That's not how I do that. So then I was taking all of that on, and then you just carry it. And then
Yeah.
I don't, yeah. And then it's almost like you don't know what's going on, right? You don't know where to put it. You don't know what to do with it. And so you just carry it around like a crazy person, hoping
Yeah.
it'll work at some point. Oh, at some point I could be able to fit it in, but it never does, because that's not what I want from my business.
Yeah.
And
Well, and it wasn't yours to carry to begin with. So of course there's nowhere to put it, or there's
yeah,
nothing to do
you
with
know,
it
and
because it wasn't
I'm
yours.
sure that all of that works for them and for some other people. It just doesn't work for me. So finding someone like you and someone else who is aligned with that heart-centered kind of business, where we're kind of outside of the box. We're not
Mm-hmm.
trying to put ourselves into this little, I don't know, whatever it is. And I really think that people are looking for that too, that authenticity, and that they don't want a one size fits all. They want something that fits them. And I don't want to offer them something that's not going to fit them. So let go isn't about me telling you how to do it. It's about me supporting you as you learn how to, you know, tap into your own strengths and
Mm-hmm.
figure out what you want and what your vision is, and just helping you find those steps yourself. And
Yeah.
so it's not anything about me telling anyone how to do anything, with the exception of starting small, making a plan that works for you, and just releasing and repeating, just rinse and repeat and keep
Yeah.
over and over again. And anything. So those are the only steps that I really have that are concrete steps. So
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is I think a lot of us feel like, but I think that's also what's gotten us to the place. So a lot of us feel like we have to have those steps, right? Like, how did I get from point A to point B? It was these exact steps. But that's what's causing us to then take those steps and think, oh, well, if I teach you how to do these exact steps, it's exactly what we've been talking about. That's what's causing all of this to begin with, anyways, which is why coming into this, I was like, I don't want steps. Like, I don't want them. I don't want to know how, like, I know, I have my testimony, I have my history, I have the stuff I've done, but I tell the girls all the time, because they'll be like, oh, well, you do a 3-hour session, so I'm going to do a 3-hour session. And I'm like, no, 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 no. What works for you and your schedule, and you figure out like what you think works for you, and if it doesn't work, great, then pivot. Like, you can always pivot. This is not like a concrete has to be this way forever type thing. And I think that's actually why it's working, is because I haven't come in saying, oh, here's step 1 through 10, do these 10 steps, and then you'll thrive and be a billionaire or whatever.
yeah, right. And yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, the confusion comes from people thinking, okay, well, they told me how to follow these steps if I just did it this way. And then when they try, it doesn't completely fit for them. And then so, for example, the 3 hours, okay, well, I'm going to do 3 hours. I have to do 3 hours. And then 6 months later, 3 hours isn't working for them, but they're still trying to do 3 hours. So they've been adjusting everything around it. Maybe it's my price. Maybe it's my sales pitch. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. When in reality, it's like, I don't have 3 hours on this day, so I need to pare it down. And I only have time for a 4-hour session on this day, or a 6-hour session here, however it is, but they're still trying to fit that square peg into the round hole, and they can't make it fit. And that's what was happening to me, because I had a lot of square pegs, and it wasn't, not a one of them was fit in there.
Yeah.
All this time changing my message, my vision, to try to fit into that square peg. And that's,
Yes.
I got myself into this dark corner, and wanted to take an axe to all of them.
Right. No, I get it. I absolutely get it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and that's, and I've told the girls specifically, even on that topic, I'm like, listen, if 4 hours works for you, do 4 hours. If, hourly works for you, do hourly. If packages work for you, do packages. I'm just like sharing my story of what has worked for me, and I can show you what's worked for me. But as you go, if that doesn't work for you, great. And it's so funny because when I tell them that that's like a good thing, that they figured out that what I do doesn't work for them and they'd rather do it this other way, they're like, what? Like they're confused by the fact that I'm like happy for them that they found their way it works, And I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to make a bunch of mini me's out here. Like, that is not what I'm trying to do.
Well,
I'm just trying to give you another idea or another thought or another option, but you still choose.
yeah, I think that's the thing too. That's what I see with a lot of women is that the choice thing, like the lack of understanding that we do have a choice. We don't have to do anything, right? Like I said, we get to do whatever it is. We get to try it, and if it doesn't work, we get to try something else. We get to do whatever fits us. And I think we get, like, it was so great when you said when they kind of get it and they kind of go, oh, we so overcomplicate everything for ourselves. And in reality, because everything seems like, okay, well, if I do it this way, that just seems too easy. There must be
right. There must be 500 steps behind that.
that really seems too easy.
Yeah. And I've actually been saying that recently. I'm like, listen, the simplest answer is probably the easiest, or the easiest answer is probably the best, the simplest, however I've been saying that. But point being is, like the reason it seems easy or feels easy to you is because it's aligned with who you are. Like,
the reason it feels easy is because it fits.
Yes.
Fits.
Yeah.
And the other things don't fit, so they feel hard and they don't feel right. It's kind of like putting on a sweater that's too small. If it doesn't fit, it's uncomfortable. You don't feel good all day. It's itchy. You don't like it. And then when you get a sweater that actually fits you nice and is soft and it feels great, it's easy.
Right.
Right.
And you don't even think about what you're wearing because it feels so good compared to the itchy sweater all day.
Yeah, all day. That's all you focus on is the thing that doesn't fit. So yeah, that whole being able to release that thing that doesn't fit. I really like that.
I do too. I know. I'm like, oh, I'm writing that down.
Oh yeah. I like that. I might have to do a post about that.
Yeah, do it. I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess that's really, really what my thing is all about, is like being able to find the stuff that fits and make it easy for yourself. Like, how can I make this easier for myself? I can get a sweater that actually fits me and I can release the one that doesn't fit me. Like, just let it go. It doesn't work. It's time to let it go. Don't keep trying to do it because it doesn't work. Keep it, sure, put it in a little toolbox. Maybe later it might work. I don't know. But at this point, it's not working. So instead of beating your head against a wall all the time, just like put it to the side. Come back to it later. If you think that it might fit, you might get to a point in your business where you go, that thing will work here. So that. Right. But you might not be ready either for that. So you might not be in a spot where that piece actually fits yet.
Yeah.
Especially when you're first starting out. And I think that's how I would help women starting out in their business, is that, like, just release those voices. Yes, those are tools, and that's what they are. They're just tools.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to use those tools just because you have them. You can keep them in your back pocket till later, and if they work, they do. If they don't, they're gone, and it's okay. And also, I think giving yourself permission to, we forget, and that's okay. So we might be doing something and then we think, I used to do this and that really worked for me. Why am I not doing it now? Well, because we forget sometimes. We forget what we've learned. and we have to be reminded and go back and kind of look again. And I think reevaluating where you are is a really important thing, like what I've been doing the last couple of weeks. So
yeah. One of the girls today, she's so scattered. She's so all over the place. She's running a full-time cleaning business, and her goal was to hire a couple more people to run her cleaning business so she could start the podcast, or the podcasting, listen at me, the organizing side of it. And that was the goal. Well, two things. One is because she hasn't been able to find those people that fit correctly yet in the cleaning business. Now she's not able to then, because she keeps thinking of them as two separate pieces. Like, I have to get step one done before I can move on to step two. So I was like, listen, just call me later. Can we please jump on a call? Because like, we got to shift a few things in your mind real quick, because that's where you're getting yourself stuck here. Like, she has like 4 people lined up ready for her to organize for them, but she's turning them away because she doesn't have her step 1 completed yet. And I'm like, listen, like, listen.
Well, I know. I see a lot of the, what bag do you use? What stuff do you have in your bag? Which I went through this in the beginning too. It's like, oh, what should I have? And then it turned out, once I started doing it, I didn't need even a fraction of what I had in the bag. Like, it didn't. No, you only need a few things. And then I saw your guys, I think it was on here that you guys were talking about measurements. Was it you guys?
Maybe there was at some point we did, but I think there was also a chat on, anyways, yeah, go ahead. They're all over the place in my head.
I was taught from you had to take measurements when you're there doing your walkthrough and consultation with them. And I was trying to do that, and it was always awkward, and it never felt right. And then somebody said, I don't know if it was on here or not, and I think it was you who said, like, no, I don't do it until we're done. And then
that was the and I'm like, you got to declutter to know what's even going in there in the first place.
And I knew all of that pieces leading up to it, and then I was like, why was I trying to measure everything? And just like, I don't even understand why I was doing. I didn't even do it for my own stuff.
Right.
Sense, right? So yeah, that whole, like, I have to do it this way, and if I don't do it this way, then I'm doing it wrong, and if I do it wrong, then I'm gonna mess it up for my client, and then things. And then also just like being able to relax into your client doesn't know,
right?
So whatever you're doing seems right to them.
Yeah. And I remind the girls all the time, I'm like, listen, you are the only professional organizer these people have ever hired. When they call you, they don't even know what they need. They just know they need something. And you ended up on their radar. So they're calling you. So, and I actually, the episode I'm about to put out this week, we had talked about for a minute in the episode, because I was just editing it, about how, you have to be very careful of your words as a professional coming into someone's home, especially when they're opening up their drawers and they're letting you into everything. It's very important to be aware of your words and how you say things. And, because I am so not of the mind frame, and I think it's so wrong, the people that go in and like brag about being like boot camp instructors type thing with their clients. Like, it's so bad on so many levels. But anyways, so I went through that little tangent with her of just like, make sure, and the girl I was talking to, she already knew all this, like, she's a natural. But I edited out a piece where I'm like, listen, I'm just saying this, so it'll be on the podcast. Like, ignore everything I'm saying, like, I just need people to hear that, like, there's another option. Like, you can be kind to your clients. You can leave them in a better, like spiritual place, mental place, emotional place, not just physical place, than when you got there. Like, it's like people don't even think of these things.
Well, I think, and this is just something that was drilled into my head in social work and coaching. It's not about me, it's about them, it's about their story. So before I even when I was going into homes, before I even meet with someone, I take my story and I set it to the side. This has nothing to do with me. And even though I may know what would work for me in my head as they're talking, and even if I know that what they're saying there is a solution. It's not my job to tell them that, right? My job is here to hold space for them. And even when you're doing hands-on, your job is to listen to their story, to listen for what they want underneath everything else that they're saying, and try to get clear on what it is they're looking for, because whatever works for them is going to be the best solution ever. So yeah, my biggest pet peeve when I'm on one of the organizer groups is when someone says, why can't I get my clients to do this? Well, because you're going about it wrong. It's not about you. You might think that that would work better for you, for them, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think.
Nope.
It's what they think, and what they think is going to work for them. So leave your story outside and come in with an open mind to them, right? Because it's not about you, it's about them. And believe me, it's drilled into your head in social work. It's like constantly, it's not about you. It's not about you.
Yeah. But most people haven't had that background. And so I'm adding that to my list of episodes that I still need to be doing.
It's a really important thing that's not taught in anything that I've taken for organizing. It's like, I think that should be one of the number one lessons.
Absolutely.
It's like, this is not about you, it's about them, because it will also help you alleviate a lot of frustrations too, because people have to do what they have to do. And maybe that won't work for them. Maybe you can see that that's not going to work for them, but they have to try it.
Well, and I keep telling, all the girls that are asking questions, they're like, how do you know how to do this? And I'm like, ask your client. Like just ask them. They will tell you.
That's right. They're already telling you probably in their story when they're talking to you, when they're telling you about all of the stuff that's frustrating them, that's getting in the way, the stuff that's really making it, that they're really struggling with. They're telling you what they really want underneath that, right? You just have to listen to what they're saying, and that's going to help you ask the right questions to them about, this is what I'm hearing, repeating back's another really good one too, is like, this is what I hear you saying, correct me if I'm wrong. And so how do you think that, or in a perfect world, what would you want this to be instead, right? Just asking those really good questions, that helps you get their story. And then that helps you keep that communication, build that trust, right? And then you can try things, you can make a couple suggestions. And if it's not what they want, move along.
Yeah. And there's like no dumb questions. Like, point is if you ask and they're just like, I don't know, or the answer's no. Okay, great. Well, then we've alleviated that. Now let's figure out something else.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like yesterday, there was a question on one of the organizer sites Facebook groups. It's like, what do people are on board with, like the acrylic stuff, right? Or there's baskets, but what do you prefer? And I said both, because I have some things that I like to see and some things I want to hide away. I don't have a perfect house.
Right.
Well, because I don't have the time or the energy to put into a perfect house.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have some baskets that I throw stuff in and just leave it there, right? And then I have some other stuff that I want to be able to see, so I use acrylic. So I mean, there's no right or wrong way, and everyone has their own preference and how, so half of the battle with a client is to figure out what their style is, right?
Yes.
Are they I need to see everything, or I need to hide everything, or are they a combination of both, right? So really finding that out about them right at the beginning, even in the consultation, you can find that out about them.
Yeah. And I'm actually writing this down because everyone's been wanting almost like a consultation cheat sheet, like questions to ask, especially the ones that haven't done one yet, because they're all in their head about like, what should I ask, or what should I say, or what should I, and I keep trying to remind them, I'm like, listen, these are people. Like, just go in, have a conversation, ask the most basic, like, whatever comes to mind. But just at the end of the day, remember, like, it's not about, oh, I have, like, exactly the whole thing we've been talking about here. It's not about, I have to get these 10 questions asked and these 10 questions answered, and then I'll know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Then you're in the wrong business, because that is not how this works.
You kind of just want to have it a natural flow and just have a conversation. And the best thing that I ever heard was, when in doubt and you're not sure what to ask, just ask them what they want. What do you want? What do you want? Like,
right.
Really think about it. That's all you have to ask. They're going to tell you what their dream is, what they envision, what their fantasy is, whatever it is. Then you can go from there. Then you can say, okay, well, is this, you can start to look at, is this realistic for you? Are your expectations up here and you're realistic? So say you want to have a pantry like Kim Kardashian. Okay, well, realistically, how big is her pantry and how big is your pantry, right? That's how you get to that conversation, because then you can start to gently say, like, let's think about this. This is what you really want. This is what you have. How do we kind of come with something similar and understand it's not going to be exactly like this over here, right? So
yeah.
What's functional for you or whatever, that's how you have the conversations. But yeah, the first question, if you just don't know, what do you want?
Yeah. And I told actually during one of the ones, I either just put it out or it's in the episode I'm editing right now, where Jessica was talking about, I think it's in this episode I'm about to put out. Jessica was talking about how she had done her very first consultation, and then she had her second one planned, but she had done that phone call. And during her first consultation, it, like, it was chaotic. The kids were there, there was just stuff everywhere. Everything this woman wanted was like not even close to anything that she could actually have. And, just client expectations, the whole nine. And then and we went through this whole talk of just like, listen, like, you are there as the authority to set their expectations, but oh, I know what it was. She had asked me, is an hour and a half, was I there way too long? Like she went home and thought, oh my God, I was there way too long. That was too much for her. And I said, Jessica, listen, I tell my clients it's going to be a 45-minute consultation. Sometimes it's only 20 or 30. I said, but some people need to be heard. I said, this woman is, knee high in children, animals, husband. Like, who knows the last time someone asked her what she wanted?
Yeah.
So of course you were there an hour and a half, because she goes, well, she was doing most of the talking. She said, I just felt so bad. I took up so much of her time. And I said, honey, that's probably exactly what she needed.
She just wanted to be heard for a change. And
yeah,
because there's a bunch of noise and your voice gets lost, and it's, that's a part
of it. Especially
as
mom, she was pregnant. She was less than a month due. She had a bunch of toddlers. She had a dog that had just had 6 puppies. She had a husband that worked out of the home. She ran a bakery from home, and she was a homeschool mom. I'm like, this woman, like, right.
You needed to vent some stuff.
Right. That woman. Yeah.
To welcome wagon in my little town that I used to live in, and that's what I ran into often, especially with new moms. I would go there to give them their basket, and I'd be there way too long because all they wanted to do was just be heard, because they hadn't been heard since they had their baby, and they just wanted to talk to an adult. And stay and listen, right? And that's sometimes all they need. And they might not hire you, but you already did a service for them, and now you're in their heart, and they will remember that. They will.
And even if, and that's what I was telling her, I said, even if she doesn't hire you, she is going to tell every one of her friends that she comes across, or anybody that will listen, about how amazing you were, that you sat there and spent all that time with her for free. Just listening to her. I said, I know for you, it was your first consultation, and you're still in that stage where you're like, I just need a job, like, you're so excited. I said, but for her, that's what she needed. And and as long as our clients are happy when we leave, job well done. Like, good job. That's the point of this. It's them.
Yeah, and halfway through most of the jobs that I did, halfway through, like you can start to see the people who start to let go of that perfectionism piece and start to understand the connection of functionality and energy and space. And then they start to see that space, because at the beginning they can't see the change. They can't see it being better. And as it starts to become better and they start to see the space, they start to have this little shift. And it's just the coolest thing in the world when someone starts to kind of go, oh, this is awesome. And I love this. Right.
Yes.
And
yeah.
so,
I had the husband of my client this week. So and he's so funny. So we've done probably 6 or 7 sessions, but this was like we're resetting the whole house kind of job. Like I knew from the get go. And she's the one I messaged you about. She's the avid QVC HSN shopper. So we're having to, her answer to everything was just spin, and then like just shove it in a corner somewhere. So, it's like a 5-bedroom, 3-bath home. Like it's a huge area. Anyways. So, her husband, every time I would come, he would ask the question, like, well, pretty much boiling it down. The question was like, are we making any progress? And how much longer is this going to take? Kind of thing. Like he was just at that place where he was like, are we gonna is this gonna make any progress? Like because he wasn't seeing the progress. So the past 2 sessions, I've made a point to get all of her stuff out of his bedroom. And then I helped in the kitchen because that's one of the main places he is. And I'm like, listen, we need to help him for a moment because I can feel that he's about to lose it. And he's the one paying for me to come. So I don't know that he's going to keep having me come back if he doesn't see the value. So we did that the past 2 times. And at the end of my last session, right after I'd done the kitchen, and her and I were sitting there talking, and he was just standing there kind of in the dining room, which was behind her couch. And she looked over and she goes, yes, honey, did you need something? And he goes, well, I don't know. I just feel better when she's in the house. I just thought I wanted to hang around for a minute. And I was like, because they're like 80. They've been married like 50 some years, sweetest thing ever. And then, as I was leaving that day, he said, our house really does feel so much better when you leave. I really appreciate you. And like that statement of like, okay, good. Thank you. Like that makes everything I do 1,000% worth it.
Well, yes. And he is feeling that energy shift for his spaces. And he's appreciative because you thought of him, right? Lots of times people just focus on the person who has the shopping issue or the hoarding issue or whatever, but they're not focusing on the people
that live with them.
Yeah. People who live with them, and it's affecting them and it's making their life harder. And so, yeah, he's probably never really had anyone do something for him specifically. And he knows and appreciates that you were making an effort to give him some space, right? Which is going to help him to be able to let her work through whatever is underlying with the shopping, because there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Which I'm still sending her to you very soon, but so here is what I was kind of thinking. So right now she's in a place where I'm just now convincing her to stop buying and start releasing, because and she's starting to feel the difference of releasing stuff and how much better that feels than the buying. But she also just had 2 eye surgeries. He had a surgery. Like they've got a lot going on in between the also trying to get all of this done. And, so they also needed a cleaner. So the past 2 times I've gone, I've even been kind of like half organizer, half cleaner, just because I felt so bad for them because they physically can't. And I think that's where she's getting stuck, is because she physically can't do anything. And and the other thing was right before I started working with her, like a week before I started working with her, which was just like 2 months ago, maybe, she had a full hysterectomy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So she's had a lot. And then she's also been diagnosed with not schizophrenia. It's the almost like a manic, where like 1 minute she's really high and then the next minute she's really low, and
bipolar.
Yeah. She called it something else, but essentially it boils down to that, just to give you an idea. Sweetest people ever, but she's stuck in this one chair right now because her body's healing from the surgery and from all the things, which is making her, but I think she was choosing to be in that chair before that, honestly. So like she like stays in one chair 24/7. She doesn't even sleep in her bedroom. She doesn't get up. She doesn't drive her car. She doesn't do anything. He does everything for her, and she just sits in this chair. And so of course she's gotten depressed. And so of course the only thing you can do is be like watching TV. Well, I think it helped her feel like she had some kind of control.
Well, it also gets a hit of dopamine too, right? So that's like a rush to do that.
Oh,
right? So there's, from my experience and my understanding is that, when we start to have a habit of something like that, shopping, it's because we want to feel differently.
mm-hmm.
And so she's in a dark place, sitting in her chair, feeling like she can't all the time. And then just in those moments where she's purchasing stuff, that makes her feel different. And it takes her out of where she is, right? So there's a hit of dopamine. It's an addiction. It's a habit that can become an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And then that piece gets really hard to break. But that's about her having to, she may need more than me in that sense of a therapist that can help her.
So she has one. So she has a therapist she's seeing. She also has me coming in. I've just now found them a cleaner that I think is going to be good for them also. Awesome. Because I think the other piece is they were so stuck, like during COVID and during all the things, just the two of them in the house. And so I think having people around doing, like it'll help bring that absolutely. Energy and just shifting some of those habits of like the daily habits, and the more often people can be around, kind of the better. But she is working with a therapist, but I don't think that, I don't know if the therapist she has isn't the right one for her, or if she doesn't. So she wants the therapist to give her answers, I think is what's happening. Like, she's like, just give me answers, tell me the answers. And what I think she needs is for someone to just sit and listen to her. Like exactly what we were just talking about with Jessica. Like she just needs someone to sit, let her talk, and then calmly be like, well, hey, could I maybe suggest this? Or have you thought about this? Like, or even if there was a group, like, the Shopaholics Anonymous groups, like I tried to give her that information, but from her age, using the phone is a little harder than it would be for others. And so I'm just at this place where it's like, I don't know what she needs, but I know she needs something, or what I'm doing is going to go right back to the way it was. Like, it just is.
Well, it's about getting into what is the shopping fulfilling, like what piece, what is that, what am I trying to replace, I guess?
Yeah.
So COVID, it's such a weird thing, right? Because isolation happened, and the more isolated and less connected that we were, the more we wanted to feel differently, because we are hardwired to be connected. And when we lost that connection, a lot of people have ended up in their chair, my mother included, right? They don't leave because they just made their world smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And for her, that's her world. So the connection piece is awesome because she has someone to talk to. But she has to figure out to become aware of what is that shopping fulfilling for her, right? And what is it doing for her? With her age, it might be difficult to get her to actually start to change quickly. She's going to be a lot slower at it. So she probably will struggle with that piece. So talking to her and just like, what does the shopping do for you? Like, what happens for you when you buy something? And what happens for you when it comes? Like, does she open the packages, or does she just
So yes and no, like her husband brings them in front of her and lines them up and then like opens them and she looks at them and she gets excited and then they just get set to the side. Then she opens them, she gets excited, they just get
So
set to the
there's the
side.
other hit of dopamine there, right? Because it's
Oh,
Christmas, right? When you get a present and you're really excited about it,
yep.
that's what's happening. And then after that, it's gone. Right. So there's quick things. So I don't know enough about it to be able to go like, well,
Yeah. I
a
just,
different thing,
figured,
but but listening, somebody to listen. I think that's all you guys can do is kind of listen to her right now and then try to kind of get her thinking about what is this fulfilling for her? What is this filling for her? What space? Is it a lack of connection? Would it be great if she could find, how would she feel about going to a senior's place to do art or whatever it might be that's
yeah.
in her community?
Well, and so before COVID, she was always active in her daughter's PTA, in church, in like she's always been an extremely active person. And now her daughters are in their 40s. They have their own lives. They never come around. And her parents, she was the caregiver of her parents. She lost both of them a few years back. So she went from having like this active, crazy life. She lost her kids grew up. She lost her parents and then COVID happened. So now she is where she is. Like, and all of the clothes that she won't release, she's like, well, maybe I can wear that to like church one day. But like, she's not even taking the first steps. She even asked me if I would help her start a home church in her house and like, be like, like she's at, of course not, but I'm just saying, yeah, she's at that place, right? She's at that place where it's like, she's craving connection.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So much.
Yeah, because that happens to a lot of people, right? You go from like a really busy life, especially moms. Like this is what I mean when women are transitioning. When you go from having a house with teenagers and kids and it's busy all the time and you're doing all of this and then everybody moves out. Now who am I? What do I want? It's really easy to just hide and go with it and then stay in that place of like, well, I guess this is just what it's going to be, right? And not make the change. Because this habit that she's gotten into now, she's using the shopping and the opening of the packages to replace the connection that she's missing, but she's not really aware that she's missing that connection. She knows there's something missing. She knows she wants to see more people, but she's not making the connection about connection, right?
Yeah.
And, trying to get her out of the house into the church would be a great thing, or her community in some way that can do it. And maybe you can talk to the husband and see if he can bring some of the members from their church to talk to her about, if they have some stuff going on, and just ask her, maybe because she's waiting for someone to ask her to help.
Yeah.
And maybe that might actually
Well, and now that you're saying that, I wonder if I could find an actual church, maybe even the church she used to belong to, that used to do like, maybe they do like a clothing drive, or maybe there's something that as we're releasing all of these brand new freaking clothes, they can go there, but then we can also kind of pull her into like, either the planning of it or the helping on the day of, or just something to get out of the chair.
Definitely a caregiver who likes to care for other people. That is something that would help kind of spur on that caring for other people, helping other people, by doing something like that, right? How can you get in, into the community to help others, to care for others? I think that's a big thing. It sounds like she's a really big carer and really likes to do stuff outside of herself.
Oh yeah. And everything we go through, it's, oh, well, so-and-so could use this or so-and-so could use that. And so then I'm struggling with, I'm like, okay, but are they coming to get it or can I just take it with me? Right. And I've even gotten with some clients where I'm like, I'll take it just so I can get it out. And then I go donate it still. But I'm like, I'll take it just because I know they feel like they have to give it to somebody.
They have to know. Yeah, no, I did a live last year, I think, about the donation fatigue, recycling fatigue. Like I have to know where everything's going. or it has to be recycled. It can't be thrown in the garbage. And there's
Right.
anxiety that comes with that. And then you're exhausted because you're constantly, so many people are like, well, I don't want to just give it to anyone. I
Right.
can't give it to a charity shop. I have to know where it's going.
Right.
Why do you have to know where it's going? What
Right.
does that do for you? What would happen if somebody bought it and then threw it in the garbage? What would that do to you? Right? What if you
Yeah.
didn't know that happened? Right? So just finding out what that is. But yeah, there's this donation fatigue, recycling fatigue, being green fatigue.
Yeah.
Place, but if we don't do it right, we're wrong, right? And so she's all about, how do I care for someone else? If it doesn't go somewhere, then I must be doing something wrong. So I would think, yeah, that would be I think that would be a good step, is to see if she can find a way that she can help others.
Yes. And that's, yep. I'm putting it in the calendar right now for the next day I have the session with her, because that's exactly what needs to happen with her. Yeah, no, I appreciate you, because honestly, I've been trying, like, I've been working with them, and now at first I worked with them a bunch of days in a row, but now I'm like, nope, I need to space this out, because she needs to be able to look forward to me coming back. And it's not like much is getting done in between, whether I'm here 3 days in a row, like it's staying the same, however I leave it, no matter how long is in between. So I'm trying to space it out at least like more like once a week or once every 10 days, because I think it also helps her to look forward to me coming back. Like it like they know someone's coming, where before I think they felt so isolated and like no one was coming.
Yeah. And it's dark. I mean, think about when we were in lockdowns, it's hard. It's not, it doesn't feel good. And so for her, the reason nothing's happening in between is because she doesn't feel any differently yet. Right. She still hasn't stepped into a different feeling. She's still feeling the same way, that disconnection and the sadness, maybe depression. If she has a mental health issue, that's playing into it for sure. So she probably doesn't feel very important or needed anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Nobody needs her. Nobody wants her. That's that dark place that you can spiral out of control. And so finding something, trying different things with her without her like knowing that you're doing it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to talk to hubby and be like, listen, because they've mentioned multiple times about the, the church, and she was like on the board and worked in the office and like for like 20 years. So like, where are those people at that she used to interact with then, and so I'm going to talk to him about that. And like, do any of them go play bingo, or do any of them like anything to get her out of this house?
Just anything. Or can she volunteer, come into the church and volunteer for whatever they're doing? Because they're always doing activities. I don't go to church, but just like they're usually having some sort of teas or something, right? So can she be part of that? Can she help out with the serving of the tea or helping set the tables? I don't know what her physicality is, but what can she do? She
seems like she would be actually pretty good as soon as she's healed from the hysterectomy stuff. Like I think right now the reason she's been so down is because of the hysterectomy. But besides that, I mean, she's a little overweight, but there's nothing that's like keeping her in the chair, like physically. It's all mental that's keeping her in the chair for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, even if she couldn't do like the actual standing for too long right now, she could just greet people as they come in and show them where their coats go, show them where, the stuff is, tell them where things are, anything to get her talking to other people is going to help her immensely, I think, with feeling connected again and important.
Yeah.
I mean, especially,
and that's absolutely what she's needing right now, is just to feel needed and wanted, and like
and
she matters.
In general, feel like throwaways a lot of times too, right? They don't feel like they're important people anymore. And if her family's not visiting her very often and stuff.
Well, and they literally live like 2 miles down the road is the problem. So it's like a smack in the face, where it's like they literally live almost walking distance and they can't even stop by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing like if she's having issues with the shopping and stuff, that's playing into it too. There's a lot of resentment and stuff. I can guess a lot of what's going on there.
Yeah.
But if that's not going to be a thing, then yeah, finding her another way to connect to people would be probably
Yeah.
really
Well,
good.
and even if, you know, like I'll start with trying to figure out like the church thing or the things in person, but if worse comes to worse and I can't, then that's why I was saying, I know she needs something that's like either like, you know, the group you're starting or like, you know, anybody's group, but just a group that like maybe meets like, you know, once a week or twice a week on Zoom. And she just needs somebody that will like listen to her and to see that other people are going through this exact same thing, and that she is not some weirdo and like the only one doing this, because I think in her head, she feels so isolated and alone that like no one could ever understand what she's going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, hopefully it works out. And
Yes. And thank you so much for the chat. And I've got some great notes, and keep me updated on your stuff. And then we'll just, you know, see each other soon.
All right. Well, take care. Have a
All
great
right.
day.
Yes, you too. And good luck with your coach today. You got this.
Thanks.
Bye.